Do you know why some snakes can live without food for months? Why do they not need to eat every day like us? In this video, we will learn what special features help snakes go without food for such a long time. There are a lot of questions about this, but first things first. Let's start with the obvious. All living snakes are cold-blooded, or in scientific terms, they are ectothermic. This means that they cannot regulate their own body temperature and depend on the environment. Unlike us, birds and mammals, whose body temperature stays almost the same all the time, whether it's freezing cold outside or boiling hot, the body temperature of a snake changes along with the surrounding temperature. A snake cannot maintain its body temperature without external sources of heat like the sun or a heated rock. This has a significant advantage. Snakes do not need to spend energy to keep their body temperature constant. Warm-blooded animals burn a lot of calories just to maintain their internal furnace. For example, a mouse needs to eat at least once a day just to stay warm. But since snakes don't have to worry about this, they can go without food for a very long time because they use very little energy, even while resting. It's like using a laptop with the battery saver turned on. You can watch a movie or work with text documents for hours without recharging. That's how snakes can lie still for days or even weeks, digesting their last meal. But energy saving alone does not explain how snakes can survive without food for months. If you don't eat for a month, your weight will decrease significantly. The most athletic people lose between 0.5 and 2% of their body weight per day during intense training. And snakes? Well, they mostly maintain their weight for the entire period of starvation. This means that they must store energy somewhere. And here comes the second factor, their ability to store energy. After swallowing large prey, snakes digest it incredibly slowly, but they absorb almost all nutrients, meat, fat, even bones. While mammals usually excrete undigested residues in the form of urine or feces, snakes recycle everything they can. The exception is chitin, the main component of the arthropod skeleton. Scientists believe that snakes utilize nitrogen from prey byproducts as well. They swallow stones and other hard objects, which remain in their stomachs and serve as ballast. And then, the digestive tract squeezes these stones back and forth, grinding them against each other and breaking them down into fine sand. The resulting powder is absorbed through the intestinal walls and used by the snake. This explains why snakes often regurgitate small pebbles or stones. Excess energy that the snake doesn't need right away is stored in the form of fat, which they can draw on over time. But even if you eat the fattiest steak, you will still lose weight if you don't eat anything else. The human body burns fat in combination with carbohydrates and proteins. And if there are no carbohydrates, it will begin to break down its own muscle tissue, releasing proteins into the bloodstream. Snakes also break down their own tissues, but in addition to this, they still have the advantage of being cold-blooded. When the ambient temperature rises, their metabolic rate increases. With enough heat, snakes can digest food 2 to 3 times faster than mammals of similar size. Thus, despite the slower digestion compared to mammals, snakes manage to get more out of their food. In short, they eat less often, but make sure to fully utilize their meals. But what happens when there is no food or when it is too cold to digest? Here comes the third reason, the ability to regulate their bodies. When a snake hasn't eaten in a while, its body slows down. Its heart rate decreases, its breathing becomes slower, and its metabolism nearly stops. It's like turning off almost all the lights in a house to save electricity. Pythons can reduce their metabolic rate by up to 97%. The ability to control bodily functions is essential for snakes, especially when they haven't eaten for a long time. It helps them survive the winter, although it's not only about the cold. Sometimes this is necessary when prey is scarce. In Australia, some species of snakes fast for several months until they find prey. This raises another question. What if the supply of prey is insufficient and the snake has been fasting for many months? Will it eventually die? Not necessarily. There is evidence that at least some species of snakes can survive without food for an incredibly long time. We mentioned earlier that large pythons can survive up to a year without eating. There is also an account of one case where a python swallowed a goat and did not eat for 10 years. Of course, such a record is difficult to verify, but scientists believe that it is quite possible. Another amazing fact, the longer a snake goes without food, the hungrier it gets. Usually, when a snake hasn't eaten for a long time, its activity decreases and it tries to avoid confrontation. But if it does encounter prey, the snake will most likely eat it. This makes sense. Why waste energy trying to hunt when you can just wait for the prey to come to you? However, sometimes snakes mistake inanimate objects for prey. They strike at shadows or their own reflections in the water, trying to satisfy their hunger. Baby snakes are born with the same ability to endure long fasts as their parents. Moreover, they can fast for up to 20% longer than adult snakes. And the longer the baby snake fasts, the greater its chances of survival in the future. For example, garter snakes that have gone without food for a long time have fewer deformities and are better adapted to life. When a female is pregnant, she spends a lot of energy on her offspring, so it's important for her to replenish her reserves quickly. Usually males eat first, and then the females who have recently given birth. It might seem cruel, but nature is not always compassionate. Evolution works not only for the good of the species, but also for the benefit of individual organisms. So let's answer the main question again. Why do snakes not need to eat every day like us? First, they are cold-blooded and don't need to spend energy to maintain their body temperature. Second, snakes absorb and store energy very efficiently, gradually breaking down their food and then using it when needed. Finally, third, they are able to lower their metabolism and slow down their breathing and heartbeat, entering an energy-saving mode. Thanks to these adaptations, snakes can survive for months without food, sometimes even for years, which allows them to endure harsh conditions and hunt more effectively. There are also other factors like the age of the snake. Young snakes generally need to eat more often than adults. The older a snake gets, the slower its metabolism and the less it needs to eat. So now you know how snakes can go without food for a long time. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe. See you later.